All right, Kyle, what do you think?
I just look at New Orleans, all right? So how are they set up this year? Is this going to be them? They're wheeling and dealing right now, but every time I go looking about the New Orleans Saints, it just always comes back to this question. And, Emmanuel, you've played with every quarterback. You know everybody's reputation. Do you trust Jameis Winston? Now, someone might like him. Someone might root for him. Do you trust him? All right, is he the guy who's this year he's going to win the South? He's going to beat Brady once, twice, maybe 3 times. Jameis Winston's going to do that? There's a strange thing with Jameis that, as from the media and fan bases, where there's this sort of obsession with him and this, in some parts, adoration, and there's this palpable rooting for the comeback story. Jameis kind of has this child star syndrome going for him, where it's like, we kind of grew up with Jameis, and he hit it really big, and then there were some really rough times, and now we're like, we kind of are... Like, I'm getting strong Shia LaBeouf vibes from Jameis Winston. Like, back in the Even Stevens things, and now, like, come on, we want a Shia-sance right now. Is there going to be a Jameis-sance? And here's the problem. Everyone will be like, he played really well last year. He was really good. He played very limited last year, all right? Sean Payton had him tick, 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 tick. It's 140 yards. It's 120 yards. It was Jameis restrained. So I'm always nervous. Not only Emmanuel, he's going to beat the Bucs this year. He's going to beat a Bucs team in which most of the prominent defensive players know him. Todd Bowles knows all about him, was on the same staff as him. They all know what makes Jameis tick, and that's the year he's got to beat them. So he is this figure that we all think about and in some ways root for. I'm not ready to say the comeback's year. I can't trust this guy, especially against Brady.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for at quarterback. Now, me being in the New Orleans Saints organization and being around Jameis is one of the hardest working dudes that I've ever been around. When I tell you, after practice, this dude stand on the practice field for an hour and a half. I'm literally going into the weight room. I'm working out for 45 minutes. I go look on the field, and Jameis is still out there throwing passes, right? So for me, you root for guys like that. And obviously, with his personality is different. Jameis is one of those guys, he walk in the locker room, you like, yo, that's a lot of energy right there. Like, what is going on here? But you root for guys like that. But as far as the New Orleans Saints, I think it's going to be interesting to see how are they going to be without Sean Payton.
Yeah.
When I tell you Sean Payton is one of the best coaches that I ever been around, you want to talk about a guy that's smart. Drew Brees was there at quarterback, but when you speak of the New Orleans Saints, you think, oh, I got to go against the guru of Sean Payton as well, the way that this guy called plays and everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Dennis Allen could do with the New Orleans Saints, with a guy like Jameis Winston, because Jameis Winston's personality, Sean Payton kind of was able to kind of hone that and calm him down and bring him down to earth and get his mind right in terms of checking down and where to throw the ball, limit the interception. So it's going to be interesting to see the New Orleans Saints. But one thing it is Mike Thomas is back. And I'm looking forward to seeing this guy come back. When I tell you he's one of the hardest working guys in practice, he's like an Antonio Brown type. When Antonio Brown was a rookie, he would literally catch every single punt return and run it back 100 yards. I don't care if it was 130 yards. He would run it back. Mike Thomas is the same way. Walkthroughs. We have walkthroughs. It's just walking, jogging through. He's running his routes full speed. Every single route, full speed.
I feel like we haven't seen him in 2 years. He's this forgotten figure who just kind of went away.
And you know what? If he's watching the show right now and saying that he's the forgotten figure, he's sitting back probably hitting like 5 push-ups right now. I can't wait to get back.
We do this conversation. Is it Devontae? Is it Kupp? Is it never last season? Tyreek Hill. Whether it was Kay, whether it was Kyle, or it was myself, whether who's ever in your chair.
His name doesn't come up.
We never mentioned Mike Thomas. Yeah. Do you think there's a comeback story there?
It's definitely a comeback story there. And the thing is Drew's not there anymore, right? So now it's Mike Thomas and Jameis Winston, right? Will Jameis be able to feed him? Will they still have the same chemistry? Because Drew Brees is a legendary quarterback. You can't replace Drew Brees, right? And so, but still, Mike Thomas is a dynamic playmaker. When I tell you, the way that he runs his routes and the way that the aggression that he plays with, he's going to make plays. It's just going to be interesting, the dynamic between him and Jameis.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because they've actually had this psychological edge over Brady in regular season games.
It's awesome, no doubt.
We talk about it a lot here. Like, they lost in a playoff game that they were winning, and for whatever reason, Jared Cook, he fumbled, and then the whole thing happened, and it fell apart, and the Bucs won that game.
That was rough.
But
I hear you.
Too soon.
But they beat Brady up last year again for the second straight year. Take a look at regular season games, what this Saints defense has done and has done to Tom Brady, and it is astounding. Brady's offense has put up 13, and that's not like one time, 2 times, all right, fine. Third time, okay, 4 times is not a coincidence. Like, Dennis Allen has had Tom Brady's number, and it's not just Dennis Allen. It's everyone from Cameron Jordan to, of course, Lattimore, to everybody who's on that defensive side of the ball. And I feel like psychologically, this team, whether or not Breeze is at quarterback and whether or not Peyton is coaching, like, they believe they can compete with the Bucs. This isn't like a rebuild thing. This is... And I wonder if that was what the trade was. And they get 2 picks in the teens. Maybe they feel like this draft is really good at different positions, and we can get 2 players that can help put us over the top. And it's not like, hey, we're starting from scratch. I look at players like the 2 receivers. I look at Garrett Wilson. I look at Chris Olave. Like, if those guys are on the board from Ohio State, you add them to another Ohio State receiver and Mike Thomas. And I also look at offensive line. You lose Teron Armstead, but if Trevor Penning or Charles Cross is there, like, a lot of people thought, all right, and you mentioned it, it's got to be for quarterback. They love Malik Willis or they love Matt Corral. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe they think there's 2 good players in this draft that they can get in the teens, and they're going for it this year. And we've got Jameis on the deal this year. Let's go get it. So I think they're competitive, and I think they might actually compete with the Buccaneers, despite the fact they lost their head coach and, of course, their Hall of Fame quarterback 2 years ago.
Well, particularly when you still have dogs in the locker room like Cameron Jordan, and you still have guys like Alvin Kamara, and to your point, Michael Thomas coming back. I mean, I've had it described to me, he's like an elite free agent that you haven't had in 2 years. I mean, there's no tread on the tires. But, you bring up the I love that you talk about Jameis Winston and this love of him.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I had a little bit of Florida State bias when he first came into the locker room. Let me tell you about Jameis Winston. Okay. As reporters, we're only as good as the nuggets we get ahead of Sunday. So I had reached out to them, couldn't get a hold of him while I was in New Orleans for locker room. And I said to the PR staff, do you mind if I send him some questions, see if he gets back to me? This was a first. He literally responded to every single question with a voice note, said that I had the most thorough information and nuggets ahead of Sunday. And that may not sound like a big deal to you guys sitting at the desk, but my point is, that's his approach to the community, to the locker room, to his teammates, and I think that goes a really, really long way. I think my only concern, even though they've got continuity with Dennis Allen, Pete Carmichael, is you are missing guys like Teron Armstead, you are missing guys like Malcolm Jenkins, and those are tough players really to replace. So we'll see.